In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how we can create this photo manipulation in desert using Photoshop. So let's get started. Hey, what's up guys, Dhruval here back with another video, and as you can see, this is the final output and this is the stock image that I'm going to use. Now actually a lot of stock images, this one, this one, this one and this one. Now all of these images are from deviantart.com, and if you want to use them, the download link is in video description, so feel free to use it. So first of all, let's look at the original model image that we will work on. First thing, like always, we will cut her out from the background. So I'm gonna go here and select my quick selection tool. You can right click to open up this and select quick selection tool. If you already know how to do this, you can skip this selection part by clicking on this box. So first of all, let's make sure I have my plus option, the selection adding option and then let's go and add some selection. So it's a very simple image in front of white background, red uniform, so should not be very difficult. So as you can see, most of the image is already selected, which is really good. And now about this weapon she's holding, so I will switch my tool from this to, I will go here and select my magnetic lasso tool, and I want to add selection, so I will use this second option here. Now let's go and start making selection of this thing. As you can see, and once you are at the end of the selection like this, as you can see, just double click and it will make the selection out of it. So as you can see, this has been really nicely selected. Now we need to remove this itsy bitsy white part, so this time I'm gonna go to third option, so we will remove this selection. And just like last time, I'm gonna double click and it will remove that selection. If you zoom in, as you can see, the selection is gone. And then the same way I will now patch the entire image. And here is a quick tip, just like you make a selection and if you suddenly want to delete some point, you can use your backspace key to remove those points. So it's just handy tip, you know, just like this, you can remove as many as you want. So the selection of entire image is ready, and once it's ready, all you have to do is click on this little icon here, third one, and that is layer mask. So as you can see, the background is gone and we have really nice mask ready for us. Now it's time to focus on the background. So to do that, I'm gonna go and select this image because this is the one I will use where she will stand. So I'm gonna press Ctrl A to select this image, then I will Ctrl C, copy it, come back here, and then I will paste it, Ctrl V. So as you can see, I'm gonna put this under model layer, so it's behind her, and then I will press Ctrl T, so it will allow us to make image bigger. So I'm gonna hold my shift key and make this image bigger, and then put it exactly right here, maybe slightly more bigger, like that. Yeah, that seems a really nice proportion right there, and that looks really nice. Take your time with adjusting stuff, and I will also make the model a bit smaller. So I'm gonna select, and when you make the model smaller, make sure you select the model thumbnail and not the mask. Those both are different things. So select your model thumbnail, and then I will press Ctrl T, and then again I will hold my shift key so we don't lose the proportion, and then I will make her a bit smaller, like that, and let's put her here. That looks really nice, and confirm it. Now let's go and bring in another part of background, so not this one, we can close this now, we don't need it now. And let's go and select this. So this is what I will use for my further background. So again, press Ctrl A, Ctrl C, copy this image, come here and paste it, and let's go and close this thing because we don't need it now. So go and close it, just so that we have less file open. Then let's put it under model layer just like the last time, and now I'm gonna press Ctrl T just like the last time and make it bigger while holding my shift key, and put it here, just like that. Now let's put it top, and let me show you one thing. You can turn off model layer for a while, we don't need her, so that's it. So let's shut up this. Now if I zoom in the selection, as you can see, there is this line here, we need to make selection of that. So I'm gonna go and make a selection of it. Oops. And take your time with it, don't rush it too much. I'm using the same magnetic lasso tool that we used last time. And let's do it one more time. And then I'm gonna zoom out. You can use control minus to zoom out in this kind of situation. And then let's go and make the selection of entire thing like that, and double click. Just to keep it a little bit simple, I'm gonna simply delete it instead of masking it out. So go and delete it, and then to remove the selection, I'm gonna go to my select and deselect. So we only have this portion of sand here. Now turn this one on and put this layer 2 under layer 1. So this is simple logic. Who is in the front? Model. Then we have the foreground, and then we have the background. It's simple. So now let's make the layer 2 bigger so that it covers the missing portion and let's make it even a bit more bigger so that it looks nicer. You can use any portion. I like the depth it gives here, so that looks nice. And once you think you are happy with it, you can go and confirm this thing. So let's zoom out and see. So it looks really nice, and let's turn on the model. So as you can see, the basic layout is completely ready. We have foreground, background, model, everything set. Now let's start by fixing the background. So turn off the model layer. We don't need her for a while. So as you can see, this image does not match with the color of this image. So it's really simple. As you can see, this image we have selected. Now I'm gonna create a new adjustment layer from here, and then I will go and select color balance. Now in the midtones, I'm gonna go and add a little bit of reds, maybe 30 seems nice. And then I'm gonna go and add a bit of a yellow. That seems nice. But as you can see, there's a problem. It's also affecting this background layer. We don't need that. So go and click on this little icon here. So now it will only affect the layer beneath it, the background layer. So that is really helpful. Now again, let's go back to color balance, and now I'm gonna go to my shadows. And the same, I'm gonna add a little bit of red, but not too much, because shadows can be really strong, can give you really strong output. So this seems nice. And now let's go to highlights. In the highlights, I'm also gonna add a little bit of red so it matches really nice, and then a touch yellow so that it looks good, and that is really nice. So now if I turn it on enough, you can see the background, both the background matches, and it looks like entire image, really good. Now everything is too colorful for my taste, like for the output I want. So I will go and create new adjustment layer, and this time I will select Hue Saturation. In the Hue Saturation, I'm gonna go and decrease my saturation to maybe, let's say, it was I think 65 if I remember in my original file. So yeah, that seems nice. As you can see, this time it's affecting the entire image because I want everything to be a little bit dull. Now it's time to start working on the model. So let's go and turn on her and make the layer active like this. Now what I have in my mind is that I'm gonna put my sun here. As you can see, this portion. So this part will be brighter and this part will be darker. It's simple logic. So to do that, I'm gonna go and double click on this model layer here, and first thing we will do is apply a inner shadow. And in the inner shadow, I'm gonna go and change my blending mode to screen, and instead of this black color, I'm gonna go and select a yellowish tone, and I have the code ready. It's D69357. So as you can see, it's yellowish tone. Now you don't have to follow the exact code, just make sure it matches something to color of the sun. So that looks really nice. Now let me zoom in so you can see what the hell is going on. So if I turn it on and off, if I turn it on and off, you can see the difference. Now I'm gonna go and adjust my angle, and the angle was 42. So all I'm trying to do is make sure that it is on the edges and not too much on the body. So let's look at, yeah, it's working really nice. I'm gonna go and increase my distance to maybe it was like 30, 34, I'm not sure. And the choke was 0 and my size was 46. So as you can see, now it is like really soft and heavy glow. Now I'm gonna go and decrease my opacity to somewhere near like 40%. So that it doesn't look very fake or something like that. So it looks natural now, and we have enough amount of light we need. So we made this part brighter. Now it's time to make this part darker. So go and select your gradient overlay. And now let me zoom it out a little bit so you can see like what the hell is going on. So as you can see, this is the gradient. Sorry, I know it, man, come on. So let's turn it on and off. As you can see, so first thing is selecting the gradient. Now in the gradient, you have this option for foreground to transparent. Now unfortunately we have this different color on the foreground, but I need black. So I will go and click here, and then I will go and select my black color here, and the same thing on this side, and gonna change it to the black and hit OK. and once, and now I'm gonna hit OK. Now I'm gonna change its angle to 12, as you can see. So it's more of a, it's simple, like you can go and play around like whatever angle suits you for your image. So as you can see, for me 12 works really fine because this is brighter and this portion is darker, works good. And now I'm gonna decrease my scaling so it is not too much spreaded out. So let's say 40, 50. Yeah, that seems really nice. And then I'm gonna decrease my opacity to, let's say, something like 50-60%. Maybe I will increase the opacity a little bit more, and that looks really nice. And then I'm gonna go and confirm it. So as you can see the difference it makes, it's like amazing. And now it's time to add in some shadows, but before that let me manage some things. So I'm gonna select my this layer 2 here. I'm gonna hold my shift key and then I will click on this hue saturation. All the layers are selected, then I will press Ctrl G, and then I will rename this thing to, let's say, BG. So it's like simple to manage, nothing else. So now I'm gonna go and create a new blank layer, as you can see here, and now I'm gonna go and create some shadows so that she doesn't look like she is floating. Instead she looks like she's actually standing there. So go and select your brush tool here, and in the brush tool make sure you have your black color here, and I'm gonna make my brush slightly bigger. I'm using my bracket keys to make it bigger and smaller, as you can see. And let's look at the hardness. So one day it will open. Come on, come on. Yes, got it. And and I'm gonna make sure that my hardness is 0%. Now I'm gonna go and start painting here, but I'm gonna go and make sure that the opacity of my brush is down to, let's say, 40% or something like that, so we don't overkill it. Okay, now as you can see, this is the model layer, this is background, and this is a new layer I have created. Never forget to do that. And then I'm gonna go and paint there. As you can see, I'm doing here, and it doesn't have to be like really strong. So if it turns out to be really strong, just go and decrease your opacity a little bit, not too much. Now let's look at it from some far distance. As you can see, so it feels a little bit more stronger than I needed, so I'm going to decrease the opacity a little bit even more. So now let's turn it on and off. Now it seems more natural, and I'm going to zoom in one more time. Now I'm gonna make my brush really smaller, like this small, as you can see. And this time I'm gonna make sure my opacity is like 60%, 70%, something like that. I'm using the same layer, as you can see, but this time I'm gonna paint really near to her feet, because this will give it like that stronger shadows that she needs. And that looks nice. And also I'm gonna do that this side too a little bit. And let's turn this on and off. So now it looks more like the feet is actually near the ground. And let's zoom out, and don't worry about the overall output, like we will adjust things later on. So the basic shadows look really nice. Now what we created is a contact shadow, and it's time to create the cast shadow, which will be here once the sun is here, as you can see. So let's Ctrl Z and remove these things. So to create that shadow, I will create a new blank layer, as you can see. And then I will make sure like the hardness of my brush is somewhere around like 30%, seems decent. And then I have selected my brush, opacity is 100%. And then I will go and make my brush big enough to the size of her feet. And then I will click once here and hold my shift key, and then I will click here. Then I will click once here, hold my shift key and click here, and then the rest of the part I will fill in manually using my brush, as you can see. Now let's zoom out. So the shadow looks a bit weird, so we can change its opacity to soft light, sorry, the blending mode to soft light. So now as you can see, now the shadow looks much natural and realistic. Now as you can see, the shadow looks much more realistic and decent, and you can decrease the opacity a little bit if you want to blend it even more, but I think this seems fine at 80%. Now it's time to add in some atmosphere in the background, and to do that I'm gonna go and create a new blank layer from here, as you can see. And I will make my brush reasonably bigger, something like this. And then in my color, instead of this black color, I have this code already here. Now if you are wondering how I got this code, all I did was simply copy one of the color from the image like this. So this is the code if you want to exact numbers, and hit OK. Now I'm gonna make brush slightly smaller and then I will paint it here. Now I forgot that my hardness was on like 38%, so I want it on 0%, as soft brush as possible, like really. So I'm gonna click here like this. I'm not dragging it, as you can see. You can hear my clicks. I'm doing it in bits and pieces like this, and that looks nice. I think that was a bit too much, so click here like that. Now I'm gonna go and change its opacity to, let's say, 55% or something like that. I don't know. So this seems nice. Now we're gonna do the same process, but this time we will cover a bigger area. So I'm gonna go and create another new blank layer, and now I will paint, but this time I'm gonna make my brush like reasonably large, and then I will paint here in the background like this. This time I'm not clicking multiple times, as you can see. I'm simply dragging my brush, so that seems nice. Now it's slightly bigger than what I expected, so I'm gonna press Ctrl T, and then I will make it smaller from this bottom side a touch, and that seems nice, and then confirm it. Now I'm gonna change its opacity to, let's say, 68% or something like that. So yeah, this seems nice. 70% works really good. So let's turn it on and off. You can paint a little bit here on the sky if you want some smoky feeling, but yeah, this looks really nice to me. Now I want to make her this red uniform pop a little bit. So to do that, I'm gonna go and select my layer 0 here, and then I will create new adjustment layer, and then I will select vibrance. Now I want it like 80% or something like that. If I remember correctly, yes, it was 80%, but I don't want it to affect the background. So as always, I'm gonna go and select this, let me put it here, icon here, this clipping mask. So now if I turn it on and off, only the red dress is getting colorful. So 80% seems fine. Now I also want to add a little bit of haze around her feet. So to do that, I'm gonna follow the same process. I'm gonna go and create a new blank layer, and then I will paint with my brush a little bit around her feet like this. I'm doing dots, as you can see, like this, and a bit more dots here. Then I will go to my filter, blur, and then I will go to Gaussian blur and add a little bit of blur, so until it matches really nice. Yeah, so that looks really good to me, and then hit OK. Now I'm gonna change its opacity to, let's say, 40%. It has to look decent and has to match the environment, okay? Don't go too strong with anything. So that seems nice, and that looks great. Now it looks really nice, but I suddenly remember that I forgot one important step. So let's shut everything off for a while, and let's go here. Let's turn these things on. So as you can see, we have this layer 1 here. Let's turn these two things on. So this layer 1 here, I wanted this part to be slightly darker so we can have better depth in the background. So I'm gonna double click on my layer 1 here, go and select gradient overlay, activate it, and then just like the model, I'm gonna go and select foreground to transparent, and again I forgot to change the color, so let's go and make it to black, and let's go and make it to black and confirm it, and then I'm gonna change its blend mode to soft light. So now if I turn it on and off, you can see it's getting a bit darker here, and then I will decrease my scale a touch, and then I will decrease my opacity so it's not overkill. So now if I turn it on and off, it's working really nice here in the foreground, and little less opacity, and confirm it. So let's turn it on and off. Yep, looks really nice to me now. Now let's turn everything back on. So now it is looking much better. And since the lighting setup is ready, we can go and add in the sun. So let's go here, and here is the sun image. This is also from DeviantArt. You can find it link in description for this image. So Control A, Control C. I'm gonna come back to my document, and then I will press Ctrl V. So as you can see, this is the sun image. It looks really nice, cute sun. It's mostly a flare, not a sun, but it works for sun, so who cares? So now I'm gonna press Ctrl T, and then I will make it slightly bigger so that it looks noticeable, and this looks nice to me. And then I'm gonna go and confirm it and change its blending mode to screen so we can get rid of the black background and move it a bit more here. Now as you can see, it's blue and the sun is yellow, so I'm gonna go and create a new adjustment layer and select Hue Saturation. And the Hue Saturation, I'm gonna first make sure that it is clip masking is on, and then I'm gonna change my hue to, let's say, 150, so that looks nice, and add a touch saturation if I need. And now if I turn it on and off, you can see it's ready. And now it's time to add the light of the sun. So create another new blank layer from here. I'm gonna select my brush tool from here, and in the colors you can copy a color from the sun, something like this. Nope, not working. So go and select something dull orangish like this, or something from here, and then hit OK. Now I'm gonna make my brush bigger, and for this step, first of all, let's make sure the hardness is 0%, and so it's 0%. And then I will make a single click here like this, and then I will change its blend mode to screen. So as you can see, the lighting looks really nice, and you can always press Ctrl T and then make it a bit bigger, so that it fits your taste. It's all about what kind of output you love working with. So let's turn it on and off. So lighting is there, sun is there, and the image is looking really good. And if you ever want to adjust the color of the glow you just created, all you have to do is just go to Image, Adjustment, and then go to Hue Saturation, the manual one. And then here you can always go and change the color however you want. So I think a bit more sand related, like the color that goes with the sand, will work nicer. So let's look at the preview. Yeah, this looks nicer. And hit OK. Might also make it a bit bigger, since it's looking really nice. And then confirm it. Now if I zoom in near to my shoe, as you can see here, there's this little white strap that I don't need. So there's a really simple way to remove that. I'm gonna go and create a new blank layer here and make sure my brush tool is selected, and in the color I'm gonna pick a color near from her shoe, the part that is darker, and then I will just simply go and paint that color on the white strap where I don't need it, and a bit more here. And then I will reduce my opacity so it will look a bit more natural. And now if I turn it on and off, as you can see, that strap is gone and my OCD is better. So that looks nice. And now let's create one more blank layer. So let's go and create one here. Actually a lot of blank layers in this tutorial, to be honest. So as you can see, one more blank layer. Now I'm gonna press Ctrl, Alt, Shift and E. So now if I select my move tool, as you can see, I just created the JPG inside Photoshop. Now the reason behind doing is that I wanted to apply shadows and highlights, and I cannot use adjustment layer for that. So as you can see, we have this JPG of this image created inside here. So let's go to Image, Adjustment, and then I will go to Shadows and Highlights. Now I'm gonna zoom in here. You can use Ctrl+ to zoom in. So as you can see, the default looks nicer, but I don't want it to be this much of a dark. So let's turn on the preview, and now I'm gonna go and lift up my shadows a bit, not too much, and then let's see what the tonal width can help us with. So I'm gonna increase my tonal width because I don't want too much darkness, and the same with the radius. I want a little bit of a contrast on her skin because she's a warrior standing in the sun, so a bit of contrast will not hurt. So that looks nice. So let's look at the preview. Yeah, that looks really nice. And let's go in here. Now let's adjust the highlights a little bit. I'm gonna make them control a little bit here, and then let's look at the down portion here. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit so we can see the entire image at once. Let's try with the tonal width here also helping a bit. So let's look at the original. Yeah, that looks nice. Now I wanted to add a little bit of a contrast, so I will go and increase my mid-tone contrast a touch, not too much. And since we will add the contrast, I also want to lift up my shadows a little bit, so the shadows don't look really flat, really dark. And then let's go and try the tonal width one more time. Yeah, so that looks nice. And I will also add a bit of a color because I want it to be slightly, bright, sunny, colorful. So that looks nice. And let's turn it on and off and hit OK. So now let's zoom in on her face, and now if I turn it on and off, as you can see the difference it makes, it looks like really nice. Now let's zoom in on her face so that we can see how does this look in the close-up. So as you can see, it looks really nice and balanced. Now it's time to add a little bit of texture in the image. So I'm gonna go here, and I don't need this one, so I'm gonna close it. So let's go here, and this is the texture. So I'm gonna press Ctrl A, Ctrl C, come back here, and then I will press Ctrl V. So we have texture ready. Now this is a bit smaller, so I'm gonna press Ctrl T, make it bigger using my shift key, and then I will rotate it because I want to use it more of a this way. So go and let's go and put it here, so that looks nice. Now this is colorful and I don't need that, so I'm gonna go to image adjustment and then I will simply go and desaturate it. Now I'm gonna go and change its blending mode to soft light, and decrease the opacity to 50%. So as you can see, 40% also looks nice. Now if you look at it, the texture is making the image bit more darker. So to get rid of that, I'm gonna go to my image adjustment and then go to levels, and then I will go and like decrease my midtones a little bit, so that darkness is gone. As you can see here, if I turn it on and off, looks great. Hit OK. Now here's the thing, I don't want this on her face or on the clothing because it doesn't look good. So I'm gonna go and apply a layer mask on this layer 12 here. Select my brush tool from here, as you can see, and it is really tiny brush, so I'm gonna make it bigger like that. And I have my black color, so in the mask, if I paint with black color, as you know, it will remove this. So I don't want on her face or clothing, something like that. On shoes it's fine, looks good, but not on the face, and like not in her surrounding too much. So let's bring it a little bit here, not as you can see. And now comes the final step, but before I do that, this time I'm gonna make sure that my color is black because I'm gonna use a gradient. So let's go and create a new adjustment layer and go and select gradient. Now I'm gonna select the foreground to transparent that we used always, and then I'm gonna change its style to radial, and then I'm gonna make it to reverse so we have it on the outside, and then I will increase the scaling, not too much, yeah, that looks nice. And then hit OK and change its blend mode to soft light. Now if I turn it on and off, as you can see, it looks really nice, dark on the edges, but I want to remove it from her body a little bit. So I'm gonna select my mask, it's ready made in the adjustment layer, select my black color, and then I will remove it from here. So now if I turn it on and off, she is not affected. So that was the last step, and this is the final output. Now let's look at the after before. So I'm gonna turn these things off. So this is the image we started working on, and this is the final output that we created. So I really hope that you guys learned something from this video, and if you did, hit that like button so that I can know. And if you have any kind of questions or suggestions regarding this video, please feel free to ask me in the comment section below. Plus you can click on any of these boxes to check out more of my photo manipulation tutorials, and you can also subscribe to my channel. So every time I upload a new video, you will get an update. Plus, clicking on that subscribe button will take you to my channel where I have more than 80 free Photoshop tutorials just waiting for you. So till then, goodbye, take care, and have some fun with Photoshop.